In the FGC, there's plenty of talent for growing the scene. Players, editors, writers, and much more come together to cultivate the community. One of those talents is Devin Butts. He is a player, streamer, co host,
People that boost, they should have this guy right here pop up from the future in their house, and he just blasts their system, whatever system they're playing on. He just blasts it to smithereens.
and combo extraordinaire. We sat down with Devin to talk to him about his origins in gaming, the transition into fighting games, and his overall works in the FGC. Let's get the profile on this player.
Oh man, so the story of me getting into video games, man. My earliest memory is not Christmas, not opening up presents. My earliest memory is of me being 3 years old, if I remember correctly, hooking up a Nintendo NES to a TV and a VCR. Because back then you had to go to channel 3, channel 4 blue screen. So that's been quite a while. And it's crazy when I think back about that because it's like, man, I was this young knowing how to hook this stuff up. And I have all that to thank for my brother. He was the one that got me into games. I just don't know. It was just something about him, just the feel of it, the luster of it. Playing these games into these worlds, you can kind of imagine yourself in these worlds. Such a good pastime. I remember back in the day when we got a Super Nintendo, I used to play Street Fighter 2. Um, and we had a Nintendo that the first port was broken. So you couldn't plug up a controller into the first port. You had to put it into the second port. So we had a Super Punch Out. And Super Punch Out, you could only play if the controller was plugged into the first slot. I would literally sit there, plug it into the second slot, knowing that I couldn't play, and just imagine myself playing Super Punch Out. I couldn't play, but I was just like, well, I'm punching these guys. Yep, it's just fun. I don't know, it was just things like that. Playing games like Final Fight. Sonic was a Sonic. Shout out to Sonic. He's better than Mario. You might not know that now because of his games, but he was better than Mario. But yeah, it was just something about it, man. And I'm almost 30 years old now, and I'm still playing games just like I was when I was 3, man. I'm trying to remember when I first had a thought like that. That when I first considered myself a gamer. And I think probably PS1. I would have to say it had to be PS1 because by that time I think that was like my first actual console that what I could call my own. Because before then, most of the consoles that I had were my brothers, and I would just play them. So I think that's probably the first time, like when I had my PS1 and I got my Game Boy Pocket, because those were mine. I could play them whenever I wanted. I had a few games on there, Tekken, played quite often, Tekken 2, Jet Moto, Crash Bandicoot, The Legend of Platforming. Um, so I think that was my first time where I consider myself like, this is something I do, of course, every Saturday. Cartoons and video games. I'm pretty sure most every gamer at that age, Saturday morning cartoons and VG games was on their schedule with a big bowl of cereal or a slice of pizza or something. From that progression to transition into the PS2, definitely became the point where I was like, okay, I'm playing games pretty regularly, buying games, going looking at Game Informer, looking at all the reviews and stuff. So I think that the PlayStation was definitely like the birth of me realizing like, okay, this is something I'm actually doing quite often, and I enjoy doing it. I kind of feel like it's becoming more of a hobby, me being just a true hardcore gamer. So being considered a nerd because you playing video games, man, that's a stigma that's all too familiar. And what's crazy is because it was kind of half and half because a lot of people that I was around and my friends in school, a lot of them game. But at the same time, if you were like the type of gamer I was, it was like, oh, this man just play game. He out here, he got the super codes. He out here doing he know all the secrets and stuff. He got that game. He got all these games. And back then, when I was in grade school, I used to get rewarded for making good grades. So I would get a system because I had good grades. And if I didn't, I wouldn't get it. So it wasn't like I was being spoiled. But a lot of my friends, he's nerd. He's being spoiled with all these systems. But yeah, I was definitely considered a nerd. I think I started wearing glasses too in like the 3rd grade, so that just definitely added on to that nerd aspect for whatever reason. But it didn't matter. I made decent grades. I was pretty cool with a lot of people. Like I said again, a lot of people play games, but I don't think they played them to the level that I did. And like I said, if you're like on that upper echelon of gaming, like people come to me asking me tips about games, like, hey man, how you get to this level? So I was kind of one of the people that's like people came to like asking for advice. it's just one of them things I really didn't care, man. You know, and it's a stigma that I still see a little bit. But back then I was like, look, these video games are fun, so y'all can say whatever y'all want to. So, games that I focus on, genre. I would definitely have to say that the genre that I focused on, that I really took a liking to, was fighting games, first of all. Um, but I really want to give it to RPGs. But the reason why I say it was fighting games first is because I didn't play an RPG until Pokemon Blue. That was like probably quote unquote the first RPG that I played. And the game that really solidified it for me, that really let me know what my favorite genre of gaming was Final Fantasy VII. When I first played Final Fantasy VII for the first time, it was just like, all right, I don't need to play anything else. I'm good. For some reason, it was just like the story, the characters, the gameplay, the adventure that they went on. I just loved it. And like from then on, Final Fantasy VII, Final Fantasy 8, 9, 10, and just continue from there. And even now, I'm still an avid fan of RPGs, specifically JRPGs. I do like Western RPGs too. Probably my favorite Western RPG was the first Fable with the expansion. I think it was Fable: The Lost Chapters, if I'm not mistaken, with the expansion, the original Xbox Fable. But yeah, RPGs, man. RPGs and fighting games are close for me. The reason why I say RPGs, and I always go back to Final Fantasy VII, because it was the quintessential example of that. Final Fantasy VII had a snowboarding segment, which I'm a fan of extreme sports games like snowboarding and Tony Hawk. Shout out to SSX. Could y'all please bring that game back? It was so many different things in that game, from like different segments of different genres of gaming. You had the highway chasing, which was akin to like racing. So at that time, it kind of showed me like, man, RPGs kind of dabbled in like different genres of video games. But yeah, RPGs, man, just the story and the characters and just how they immerse you into the world. I'm going to be an avid RPG fan until the day I leave this world. So I would have to say the games that set a precedence for me would have to be none other, for fighting games, would have to be none other than Alpha 3, of course, and Alpha 3, MK3 Trilogy, and Soul Calibur. Those were like the games that, like, man, fighting games are the bee's knees. Alpha 3 to me is my favorite Street Fighter of all time. It was just the jump that, like, cause like before then, I think I played Alpha 1 at an arcade or like a truck stop somewhere with my brother. I played that one, I didn't play 2. Then 3 came out and I was just like, this is amazing. Like the graphics, the sound, the attacks, the effects, all the stuff, the stage, it was just so much going on with that game that was such a step up from what I've been used to. And then Mortal Kombat Trilogy was just amazing. You had all these characters, just the combos and stuff. It was just amazing. So I think those games solidify for me my real true love for fighting games. And again, that was the Soul Calibur for the Dreamcast, phenomenal fighting game. Still one of the best fighting games ever. The graphics, I'm just sitting there looking like, this is like real life people I'm looking at on the screen. You know, and we know Soul Calibur has been years, since 20 years it's about since that game had come out. Also Tekken 3, those games, man. Tekken 3, the jump from Tekken 2 to Tekken 3 was ridiculous, man. The first time I did a 10-hit combo, I thought I was Daigo, man. Like I was like, you not beating me. I can do a 10-hit combo. Nobody is beating me. So I think those collection of games are definitely what like just solidify fight games for me for a lifetime. College days and being the head of the video game club as president. And well, I think before I was a president, I was the commander in arms. I forgot that position title name. Then I went from that to vice president. It was an interesting experience for sure. It was definitely kind of nerve-wracking because like at that point I'd never been like over something like that, especially at a university at that level. So it was definitely kind of nerve-wracking a little bit, but I mean, I enjoyed it because I mean, it was part of my passion, which was video games. But I think that's when I started transitioning over to being more competitive in the fighting games with Street Fighter 4. And I played that game. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I have 1,600 hours in Street Fighter 4 from the log, and I'm just like, how did I put this many hours into Street Fighter 4? But it was definitely an interesting experience. I had a little bit of experience with like running tournaments, just a smidgen, not like nothing major, but we had like little small brackets and stuff of that nature. So it was kind of cool to be like behind the scenes and be kind of over that type of stuff. Kind of made me and like kind of inspired me to maybe want to do stuff like that in the future, like on a bigger scale. because I saw like, okay, this is it's not that bad. I mean, things you have to be over things and make sure things run right, but it was definitely interesting for sure. So getting into tournaments and actually traveling, I think my first experience was a tournament called Cinder Slam. It was like a regional tournament in Mississippi, like Jackson area. And Marvel 3 was my game at the time that I was competing in. I think that was I competed a little bit in Street Fighter 4, but not that much. Like I was really trying to take Marvel serious, playing it a whole lot with some of my friends. They competed, and it was a really interesting experience the first time I went, just to see all these different players from different places. We had players from like Louisiana, Arkansas, a lot of different places. And you get to see all these different teams and different play styles and things of that nature, and just the camaraderie of it, people interacting. But when you get into these events, like people are standing behind you, people are talking, making noise. This person that you're playing got their homeboys behind them, like cheering them on. Your homeboys behind you. It's a different experience, and it's a really dope experience. Possibly meeting up with some people and making new friends. I think the biggest tournament I went to was probably KIT, and I think that's probably in terms of majors the biggest one I went to. But yeah, I miss those days, man. Competing, playing Marvel, it's fun, man. If I had to say one person that like out of FGC that influenced me, I probably had to say Disc. Combo Legend. Definitely, I don't know if he's actually human or not. You just see hands when he does videos, so it might be just some like robotic contraption with human hands on it. And the reason why I say that is because I'm a big fan of combos and combo videos, and watching his stuff, the way he does it, the way he edits and stuff like that, it just is very inspirational. I used to do combo videos like a long time ago, like when I had like a camera with like it looks like it was recorded with a potato. But I'm doing stuff that's a little more high quality in terms of like combo content, and he was definitely one of the ones that inspired me. Just watching this stuff, the music that he would have behind it, the way he cuts the videos, the way he edits it and makes it like flow with the music was just phenomenal. How you can be creative in a video game, I think that's my biggest thing about just being creative, like and putting your own like flair and your own stamp on things and showing things that people may have never seen before. So Desk has definitely got to be one of the people in the FGC that be my biggest inspiration. I'm thinking about this, and if I had to say that there was something I'm striving toward or a goal I have in terms of like what I'm doing with FGC, I want to actually give a shout out to Maximilian, because actually I kind of want to change my answer to the last question, because I would like to cultivate something similar to the way Maximilian has done. When it comes to FGC content, he has done like a great job with like having just this great energy. But with myself personally, that's what I want to do. Like just create content that people enjoy, content that I also enjoy making, but something that people will enjoy watching. What is the viewer thinking? Like, did they think this was cool? Did they think this was something that was dope? And I try to take that information and use it for further videos. But yeah, I would definitely like to cultivate just a community of positivity, somewhere where people can come watch videos and just have a good time. Like, man, that was a dope video. That video made my day. That's been really my biggest thing that I want to do in the FGC, is just have a community of positivity where people can come and chill out. I don't really think that I've seen many content creators that are similar to Max in that regard. And I look at him. I had a dream board in my room, and I think I actually printed out a picture of him streaming, and it was on my dream board. It's like someday, get to that level where he's at, where he can just play games. And people not only come for the games, but they come for him and his personality. But I think now, since streaming and content creation has become such a big thing and a bigger thing, it's like you can kind of like get, noticed and get notoriety without having to be just the top of the top players, competitive wise. How I envision the FGC for the future, I would definitely like for it to become, and I'm gonna use the word niche, because I still think that FGC is niche. I think a lot of people agree in comparison to other aspects of gaming, like COD. I would really love to see it get to that level. I know we've been on ESPN, but when it comes to like certain coverage and like certain sponsorships from certain companies, the FGC hasn't quite gotten to that level yet. And I would just love for like you to just regularly turn on TV and have a fighting game competition on there. Not just like special things like on ESPN2, but just turn on like on the sports channel just and see fighting games. I think when Evo was shown on ESPN2, you had a lot of people's like, why is this being shown on TV? Like, okay, well, why is anything being shown on TV? What's wrong with this competition that's something that is taken serious by a lot of people. What's wrong with it being shown on national television? Why don't people have that same notion with like shooting games or mobiles or anything? Like nobody's it's like these things have like tournaments and stuff. Like I think in Japan or like Asia, they have like their Super Bowls is like league tournaments and stuff of that nature. They're selling out 50,000 seat stadiums for games, and I would really love for like fighting game just to get to that level and stay there, and not for people to be like, oh, this is weird, this is whatever. Like this is a part of gaming, just like anything else, and just respect it, just like you do anything else. I think that's my biggest vision for the future of fighting games, just to get to the point where you got like a national FGC league or something like that. Well, if I had to make a non-fighting game and a fighting game that I've always wanted, and the reason why I'm laughing is because my obvious non-fighting game answer is Jack 4. Naughty Dog, I don't know. I mean, I know y'all been on Uncharted. Nathan Drake been climbing towers up to the sky. He been climbing up to outer space, all this stuff. The Last of Us, the rest of them, all them folks, all this stuff. I know that's what y'all been working on, but can we please get Jack 4? Like, people say, well, what's the story gonna go? Blah 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 blah. Jack, Dexter, just make the game. You can make up a totally new story. Like just Jack 4, I don't think got the respect that it deserved. I think fighting game wise, I would like to see a Final Fantasy fighting game, like a traditional fighting game for Final Fantasy in the style of Marvel, like a team-based game. I love Final Fantasy. I like Dissidia. And I know people say, well, Dissidia is a fighting game. Yeah, I understand, but it's not a traditional fight. It's more of an arena-based fighting game. Just make the game happen. Please, Square, somebody, get together with artists or something, be like, hey, man, let's make this game. So those would definitely be my two options. My YouTube is Gamen Lift. It's all capital. Same thing with Twitch, Gamen Lift, Mr. Gamen Lift on Twitter. Like I said, I post sometime when I do combos or something. I post them on Twitter, just a little segment or something like that, just to get like some advertising for the YouTube stuff. Yeah, those are the socials. I don't think there's anywhere else you can find me. Playing some video games, you can find me doing that too. On TVFGC, talking the stuff,